Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Ears to the East. Yeah, it's part two. James is still here. I'm gonna let
Yes.
you guys get into a little bit of chatting.
Yeah,
Go.
because we kind of got into it.
We did.
Kind of got into it just as we were sort of finishing up. So let's continue. Yeah, we were just talking
I'm going to talk.
about the Japanese and American
Titties.
sensibilities. Yeah, how in some as a retailer, I do worry about selling certain manga to people, and it's like what's the most suitable thing you can, because we were talking about censorship
Mm.
before, and one thing I was going to say was like sometimes censorship can make a, because we were talking about how the Ghost and Shell manga was edited, and how the Dragon Ball manga was edited before, but then they re-release it and it's not
Yeah.
edited anymore, or the other way around. But one thing that's usually held in quite high regard is that film by Makoto Shinkai, Your Name. And
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, people can get into this. It looks really good. It's a really, you know, interesting film. It's visually really good. But there's one thing that usually prevents me from recommending it to people too much. You think this could be a really standout hit, it could be like a family movie that you can watch all over and over again. Apart from the part where he first turns into a girl and touches himself up.
The wrong moment.
I'm thinking, oh, if it wasn't for
Yeah.
that scene, if you could just take that scene out
I
and he
mean, to be
does
fair, that's like the most realistic thing ever. Like, if any of us
honest,
turned into a
Yeah,
girl right
honest,
now,
I
like,
wanted to
but
say.
it doesn't make it like a marketable
mm,
film for everyone,
yeah,
you know. So it's a shame because if it isn't for that one scene, if he could just go, "Oh, I'm her," isn't that crazy? Instead of him going, "Oh, I wonder if I can," it's like, if it wasn't for that, this film could probably be more successful. It could
Mm.
Yeah,
probably
but I
like,
would
You were
argue
telling us
not
about Street
everything
Fighter
has
as
to
well
be
before.
suitable for every
yeah, because
audience.
it's really hard to find something that you can. I'm going to sneeze again. I'm going to end up looking up Robert De Niro in a second, just doing his face.
Sorry, you
Um,
sneeze, I cough. It's all good.
yeah, I've still got the first bit. Thank you. Talking about. Okay, right. um, but this is for my Makoto Shinkai movie. But kind of lost my train of thought there though. Oh yeah, so it's hard to, yeah, sometimes it can be hard to recommend something
Mm.
that doesn't have anything questionable in it. And you, as I was saying before, it's hard to recommend something, especially when the parent's right there, and you think, oh, is this parent going to come back to me and wave this in my face and go, "You sold this filth to my kids"? So yeah, it's hard to think of a series where there's nothing questionable in it, like to
Yeah.
our sensibilities, um, because so many adults in Japan grew up reading manga.
Mm.
I guess they know what to expect because it's like, well, it was good enough for me, so it's good enough for
Yeah.
my kid. But in our society, anime and manga is this new interesting thing where, parents didn't grow up with it, so they don't know what's inside, and they don't know the
Yeah.
effect, the non-effects of reading such things. Um, so that's why I've had a really good time recently recommending Kaiju number 8, which is
Yeah.
coming out as anime this season, I think, and I've just started to see merchandise for it out there because I've been reading it, and the violence
Yeah.
isn't that violent, and the blood and guts comes from a sort of not medical perspective, but
Mm.
the main character, it's his job to clean up after they've been defeated
Yeah.
to begin with. So
Okay.
it's like, okay, yeah, he's rifling through guts and stuff, but it's not like gratuitous. And it doesn't do any of that puerile humor that I've
Mm.
seen so far. And I'm thinking, oh, thank goodness. It's an anime, it's a manga that I can recommend to people without worrying.
Yeah.
But
But then maybe I can put a bridge to another topic that we wanted to talk about even before. What do you think about live action adaptations of anime? Because I would
yeah,
say, because sometimes you have an anime and instead, yeah, you could either change the product to like make it more fitting for certain audiences, or you
yeah.
could do like a reboot or a something else, like a live adaptation.
So
What's your thoughts on that?
people talk about American versions of anime
Mm.
adaptations like they are inherently a bad thing, but I don't think people take the time to look at Japanese live action or Chinese live action adaptations of anime. and they're like, oh, they can't do it either. But one of the films I really enjoyed when I was younger was a Jackie Chan film, City Hunter, and I
Yeah,
didn't know it was based on an anime
yeah,
at
yeah.
all. But it is based on anime, but it's not done like it's not done any way like it at all, to be fair. So, but then you look at things like, but sometimes you do get the opportunity to have a look at a Japanese live action of something. Sometimes really good, like the Japanese Death Note, the two-parter film. That's really good, even though it's really cheap. It's a really good
Haven't seen that.
adaptation. But then you look at the Japanese Attack on Titan adaptation, and that is really bad.
Yeah, a lot of not really good ones. But
Yeah,
I'm
so
not even sure if they are Japanese or American.
Being in that film,
who?
nice lady.
Oh, but the thing is, the Attack on Titan live action has the horrible rubber monsters like the Titans, and there's a
Yeah.
helicopter. There's a helicopter, and they're not allowed to use it to go over the wall. And there's that weird, like, what is it? That brainwashing room it's super technical with all the. There's like
I haven't seen it. It was on my list of
I haven't
things
seen
to
the
see,
movies
but
either.
it's going quickly off my list of things
I don't know
to
if you've
see.
well, I don't know if you've ever seen the play, The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, but the whole like play is set in this big LED cube with parts that move. Like, it's the room from The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. It's really weird. It is strange. It's and say the monsters are hilariously bad,
Yeah.
and
They
it's
are.
yeah, and it's what is it? There was an exhibition at Tokyo Skytree with some of the props, and they were in such bad condition because they were just made out of painted polystyrene.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I mean, I was never particularly a fan of Attack on Titan, wasn't really my thing, but
Yeah.
I watched it just out of culture interest because there was a lot of famous people in it.
Yeah.
And so it was hard for me to objectively question it as I wasn't a big fan of the original. But it was one of those ones where I was thinking, it looks so cheap that that would only really work if you were going, well, they didn't have a budget, but they had a story to tell. But instead, it was like they didn't have a budget, they didn't have a story to tell. And the original director, that was the one which was originally going to be directed by I apologize, I've forgotten his name. The guy who really famous Japanese director. He's the one who did Memories of Matsuko. But he pulled out. He was going to do it and he pulled out. So it was a trouble production and everything. And yeah.
And it looks cheap.
Yeah, you know what? I still haven't seen the final season of Attack on Titan yet. I've been putting it off just because I don't want to see Hagne or Sasha die.
Well, when it was coming out episodically, like weekly, then I would bother to subscribe to Funimation to watch it as it came out every week. But then the last two have been these 1 hour long specials, and I'm not going to pay for Crunchyroll. I'm not going to pay for Funimation for a whole month or two just to watch one special and then do it again at the end of the year. So I haven't even seen them yet. I was waiting for the dub to come out as well because I've been watching it in dub. I mean, with it coming out weekly, I had to watch the subtitled, and then about 4 or 5 weeks later, we watch it again in a dub.
Yeah. I've only had to do that once, which is when I obviously a massive Dragon Ball fan, and I watched a lot of Dragon Ball Super in dub.
Yes,
but then I
a lot of people.
I got really impatient with it though because I like reading the Dragon Ball mangas as well, and the dub takes for some strange reason like 5 years to fucking come out compared to the dub. So I ended up watching like a lot of Super in dub, and I ended up just watching the rest in sub because I couldn't wait any longer.
That's true. I think that's what gets. The thing is, what is it? The original Dragon. When did Goku go Super Saiyan in the anime? 1988 or something. So, and then we get to see it in 2000. It's like, oh, okay, well that's late. But everyone in Spain and France and Italy is like, what's the big deal with Dragon Ball? We've had it for like 10 years. And then, the US is like, it's just an amazing thing, Dragon Ball. And of course, the internet wasn't that prevalent back then. So it was really difficult to fact check things, even though they'd happened like a decade and a half ago. I remember in school, people were like, did you know that Vegeta has a son with Bulma? And you're like,
Yeah.
no, what, how, when?
Yeah.
And of course, you know, in Japan, it happened like 15 years ago.
Yeah,
So there's a lot
I
of
like I said, this is why I had to start reading the mangas for some stuff, because I had a lot of people coming up to me going, "Hey, do you know about like Moro and what happens with the gods and so on?" I'm like, "How the fuck do you know this? We're not even up to that part yet."
Oh man, it's
Yeah.
when people are reading the chapters online, like when they get scanlated, and people are talking about like, oh, have you heard about, you know, Vegeta and this thing and the stuff with was it granola? And you're like, no, because I'm buying the books when they come out.
Yeah, I know.
And then anime watchers are like,
Yeah.
huh?
What are your
That's
thoughts on
also
that, by the way? Because like I don't know, there's a lot of like animes that obviously like follow the mangas and stuff.
Yeah.
We have a situation now with Dragon Ball where they overtook the manga for a little bit, and now
Yeah.
we're getting Dragon Ball. Was it Daima?
Oh yeah, that's like a web series, isn't it? It's really
Yeah,
short. Like,
it's really short, but they're doing that just to buy a bit of time to catch up to
so
the
now
manga.
the problem with Dragon Ball Super particularly is that it came out weekly for a year. You
Mm,
know, it came out weekly. Usually anime is on a, what is it, 12 episode run, and then it disappears for like a year or 6 months, and then it comes back for another 12 episodes. Whereas Dragon Ball was weekly for a long time. So you need to have a lot of manga. So now that they're doing the manga ahead of the anime, now they're doing that, you have to have a ton of manga ready and a bunch of filler planned before you can even start making the anime. So I'm looking forward to Dragon Ball Super coming back, but the only season I really liked was the one I could kind of relate to, like because it's characters that I know and like. So I didn't
yeah.
like getting introduced to too many new stuff. So I really liked the Future Trunks arc in Dragon Ball Super because it's like, oh, this is cool. And then they bring in a character from Dragon Ball, you know, because what was it? Because she was turned into a child, so then she's finally
Oh
got to the
yeah.
right age again, and she's with Trunks. I'm like, that's cool, that's cool. You know, I like that.
But
So that was
secretly, because we're all adults now, we're like thinking, isn't she like 70 years old?
yeah. Well, I watched the Dragon Ball Super superhero movie for the first time when I was packing to come to Japan because I
Mm.
was up all night and I was like, okay, right, I've got to watch something. And I watched Dragon Ball Superhero, and you know, yeah, again, they sort of explain why Bulma never ages because she just keeps wishing for stuff to make her young.
I mean, not to be funny, the amount of time she fucking searches for them and shit like that. I mean, she's supposed to. So I always
Yeah,
remember that one scene in Dragon Ball, which going back to what we were talking about, like content a little bit. I remember seeing this as a kid as well, and I haven't seen the scene again since, but it's
yeah,
become notorious now. Where we were talking about obviously Japanese humor and how different it is to ours.
yeah.
And I remember the one scene in the original Dragon Ball where Goku is next to Bulma, and he takes off her pants and pats down where he like and goes, "Oh man," and then is in shock because he's like, "Oh my god, your pee pee is gone.
Your balls are gone.
There's
Your
nothing
balls are
there."
gone. He's like,
Yeah,
Dragon Balls are gone. The Dragon Balls are gone. So yeah, your
yeah,
balls.
yeah. And she's like, "I'm a girl," and I remember as a kid watching that when I was like, what, fucking 8 years old, and I was like, "Ah, that's fucking hilarious."
Does he say
Uh,
like something, why do women have an ass on their chest or something?
Yeah, something stupid like that. But it's just Goku being a buffoon. But you watch that now at like 30 years old, and you kind of like,
Ugh. Is that how they were? Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like, oh, okay. It's sort of, it's yeah, exactly. And it's hard to kind of think. It's like, I'm going to try and justify that. I'm going to try,
I know.
but you got to put yourself in the reader's perspective, I suppose. You know, there are a lot of, hey, she's actually a 700-year-old demon. She's not an 8-year-old child.
But looks like it.
Looks like one. It's like, oh, and you have to, you know. So
Maybe not
that's
recommend that one.
Yeah. You
I'm
said
not
before,
falling for that one again.
yeah, you said before that you're obviously you liked obviously a lot of 80s and 90s anime, and then round about the 2000s you kind of fell off because life and
Yeah.
work and all that shit stuff. But with like the more modern type animes, probably in the late 2000s or anything, for what you have seen, is there any that really kind of jumped out at you?
Yeah, because I do like, so I like a bit of slice of life, a little bit of fantasy, but I don't like things that are too fantasy because I don't
Yeah.
like learning too much new stuff. Like, for instance, I don't think I could get into I don't think I could get into Sword Art Online too much because there's so much new stuff you need to learn. You need to learn the name of the game. You need to learn the currency of the game. You need to learn all these weird, unusual names and moves and things. I mean, I learned Dragon Ball. That was enough, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't need to learn any more new stuff. So there was this series that I thought was quite funny. It was blah 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 Die Guard, and it's like a giant robot anime, but they're on a budget. So it's like, look, you can't spend too much, you know. It had a really cool like theme tune. So I quite liked that, and I sort of got into reviewing anime for a little bit as well. There was this magazine project that was coming up, and because I went to conventions and I got to know the people who run like the companies anyway, it was quite easy for me to ask for review material. So I watched all of Excel Saga, so that was pretty fun. It's like a ridiculous like comedy series, but I managed to watch the whole. I would better afford it DVDs on my own.
Yeah.
So I've got a bunch of review material, and it just makes me think about like the fans back then who, like, you know, if they wanted to watch something, they'd either have to wait like days for it to torrent. Like 12 episodes probably take about 4 days to torrent. Or you'd have to spend
LimeWire back in the day, Jesus.
yeah, or you'd have to like spend 18 quid on 4 episodes or whatever, you know, on DVD. I know it's about the same now though, but I mean, we usually get the whole series. So you know, watching anime in general was just really difficult back then.
Commitments.
It was very difficult.
I don't know if you know about that. Maybe you have a broader knowledge about anime in general, but is like shonen becoming a bigger thing, or is it more going away and we have more shorter animes?
So many shonen series that people are getting into that what is hard is stocking the manga, is having all these volumes of something that
I was thinking like 1000 One Piece episodes. I will never own that on DVD.
And that's 104, 105 volumes of the manga, and I can't have all of those on my shelf at any one time. As well as that, Black Clover is really popular, and that's in its 30s. Blue Exorcist, that's got more than 20 volumes. My Hero Academia is up to like sort of 35, 36, 37 volumes now. And then it's not shonen, but JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, you know, that's catching up. Got Stone Ocean Part 1 just came out on in manga form, and those are huge hardback books. So, and I think it's kind of, I don't like when manga goes on for too long as well, because you're going to outgrow some of your audience. And even in cases of mortality, you know, like imagine like if you got into One Piece and you were already like in your like late 20s and it's been running for 30 years now, and like you're on your deathbed, you're like, oh, Oda, I never knew how the One Piece ended. And it's just bizarre when they run that long, especially when
die just before they reach the island.
Yeah. So especially when you've got like a consequential storyline like that. I mean,
I never thought of that, like the animes and mangas outliving like the audience. That's actually a scary thought.
Yeah.
If you were into it when you were like 28 when it came out, you'd be watching One Piece in your 60s now. You know what I mean? So
I also think, like, you know, I love One Piece, I love Naruto, Bleach, all that stuff. But I also think a lot of times these shorter animes that just have 1 or 2 seasons with like 12 episodes or something, a lot of times the story, it's just more focused, more compact. It's, I don't know, more thought out. More movie, more like a coherent product.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just a precursor to buy the manga and read that.
I'm going to talk about the one anime that I know briefly. This is what I liked about BOCCHI the Rock. The anime,
who would have thought?
There's like lots of episodes of the manga.
Yeah, the
but
the
reason I really like the anime, in a way, I don't want a second series of it, because for me, the way it ended, the open-ended nature of the last episode was absolutely perfect.
I think
it
it's
left
clever.
You with all the questions
that
make. I mean, she wasn't trying to become famous. She was trying to achieve something different. So she achieved.
She was trying to become famous. That's what she said at the beginning.
No, but I mean, the thing is that that's what she thought, but
what she thought she wanted.
Yeah, but what she actually wanted was something else that she achieved. I won't spoiler it, but I mean, you can probably guess. It's the friends we made along the way. But you know, she.
Well, cheers for the spoiler. Fuck me.
Well, she managed to achieve a much more significant goal than just be famous, which was during the whole thing, she's combating the fact that she feels like her goal is a bit flat. And so it's actually interesting that what she says she wants and what she actually achieves are different. So the ending for me was perfect.
It's good that, you know, that the anime and manga can sort of stand on their own. Like you can consume the anime in one go and it's fine. But of course, if you want more depth, you can go into the manga. But yeah, that's kind of, it is difficult. But there's a lot of shonen series that are probably going to last a long time that people do want to get into now, which I find is incredible that they've got so much content that they can look into. Like Food Wars was really popular for a while, and that's like 20 volumes or more. And to say Black Clover, that's gone popular. And there's just more and more of these long series coming out. Like even then, like Kaiju number 8, the author was kind of known for short series, but Kaiju number 8's on like its 10th volume now, which is a lot for that author. But then you get series that people want to read, like Bleach and things, and there's like 64 volumes, and Naruto where there's like 60 volumes, and it's just crazy.
With Naruto, I was really happy. Oh, finally, it's coming to an end, and then they continue with Boruto, obviously.
They have to end.
I'm like, nah, I'm out.
Yeah, there's like the longest running manga series has over 202 volumes now. I think that's Kochikame, and it's just a comedy series about a policeman, and it's not really consequential. So I guess it doesn't matter that that's been running for so long.
But then it's all right. You can just tune in whenever you want. You don't have to follow a storyline.
Well, yeah, and it's also pretty easy to read, and I don't think people are going to care too much if they sort of drop off. I mean, it never came out in English, as far as I know. Another one I'd really like to read, because I don't know how long it is I'd like to read the manga for Bucky the Grappler, but I don't think it got an official UK release. It's just so long. I'm hoping one day it'll get a release, because you can read manga online, but it's just not that easy. It's uncomfortable to read manga on a phone, but I've been reading OSHI NO KO because I've had to.
So I mean,
if you had to choose only anime, only manga, what for the rest of your life, what would you choose?
I suppose manga, because you can get through a lot of it quicker, and then you get the author's original vision, and there's so much.
There's no theme tune.
But I know that's
there's
hard.
no action in the no movement in the
it's
animation.
But there are so many. There's manga I've read, and I thought like, oh man, if only this would be a great anime. And then I think, well, I've got the story already. I've got it, so I don't need an anime for it. But there have been some original anime, not many, but there have been original anime, like Evangelion, like my favorite. That wasn't a manga to begin with. I mean, it was eventually, but the anime is better. I mean, you do get like well animated scenes that play out so much better than what you think of in your head. So it's hard. But of course, yeah, I mean, no one's ever going to really give me that ultimatum anyway.
True. Just hypothetical.
Like I can imagine, like when it comes to One Piece, I mean, I'm probably going to end up reading the manga because it's a lot quicker than watching the anime.
Yeah, that's very true.
You know?
But still, I would choose anime because I just love animation.
Oh yeah, I love anime. Love it. Yeah. I mean, there's even like, say for instance, I like the intros, and the intros are something that was never in the manga. There's a manga by Kenichi Sonoda, and he was not Kenichi Sonoda. Kenichi Sonoda was like the guy in like the late 80s who did all the character designs for everything. But oh man, Kosuke Fujishima. That's it. He did Oh My Goddess. It was huge. But he did a series called You're Under Arrest, which was only short OVAs, but it was a long manga. But the intro to the OVA was so cool, and it did things that was not possible with cameras. The animation, it starts on the ground, and the officers are getting out their police car, and then the camera follows this airplane, and it follows the airplane, and you're like, wow, that you could not film that back then anyway. You know, back in like 88, you couldn't film that. You couldn't put that on live action movies. So that's why I liked anime, because you could get stuff that wasn't possible on live action film. Not yet.
But that's kind of why I wanted to ask, or wanted to go back to the live action, because I recently watched One Piece, the anime, to almost completely the end, and then I watched the live action, and like you said, I was going into it thinking like it's gonna be one of those bad adaptations. I actually think it wasn't that bad, but I'm still thinking Yeah,
I might watch that.
I just cannot imagine a lot of things working in the later stuff.
Yeah,
Things
exactly.
like
Challenge.
Big Mom or something. How do you portray something like that in real life?
Yeah, exactly.
Do
So
you think
that's
that can work, or better
possibly.
leave it alone?
But it's overseen by the guy who originally like created it, isn't it? So I get the feeling
it
that
is.
he will know the intention. So even if he has to change it, he'll know how to get to the core of what he was trying to say in the scene, I guess. That was my
But also the humor with all of the over expression and the weird, extreme, huge faces and I don't know, sharp teeth and stuff like that. You cannot do that in a real life, and I think that takes away a lot.
I think that if you're good at making, in the same way that anime knows how to express things in its own way, if you're good at making live action film with the visual effects, you'll know how to use them to express the same thing, but just in a different way.
It's going to be a challenge, that's for sure.
I am, by the way, I
Yeah.
should point out, I'm interested to see, like, OSHI NO KO they've announced a live action version of that.
So that'd be quite easy to do,
and-
really, because it doesn't have anything that's like
Yeah.
physically impossible
I'm
going
quite
on.
impressed though by looking at the cast. The cast is quite interesting, and like even Anna's in the cast. And
Yeah,
I think it's actually going to be one of those ones where if they can act, if they get the acting right, they seem to have like the right personalities in there. So I'm kind of interested to see.
See, it's one of those things where I think an American adaptation would work a lot better because the American movie cinematography is just so much better than Japanese movie cinematography.
Godzilla -1.
All right, so the thing is, I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know if it's actually that good visually, or in a direction sense. Like for instance, for all we know, unless we're really good with Japanese, the acting might be wooden and hokey. We don't know because we can't really tell Japanese sensibilities.
That's true for the the American ones as well. I to be honest, I
Oh
think
yeah, that's true.
the days when we could say, well, American movies have much better cinematography, I think those days are kind of over now. I think honestly, like stuff coming out of Asia. I mean, there's a friend, I've got a friend who lives in Korea, and they showed me this Korean film that just came out. I can't even remember what it's called, something about aliens or whatever. I looked at it, I was like, Jesus Christ, it's like made on no budget, and it looks better than anything coming out of Hollywood.
You have to wait and see what Japan does then in that case, because
it could be good.
Whenever I think of like, because some people say, oh, American anime adaptations are bad, and I think not always. I mean, I like Battle Angel Alita was really cool. I was really hoping to see another one of those. But then if someone says, oh, Japanese live action adaptation, I think, well, was Full Metal Alchemist live action any good? That Yu Yu Hakusho one that just came out, was that any good? Was was Kenshin live action any good? I
don't think that comes down only to budget. It's also the writing.
America is still hands down the worst, just purely because they gave us Dragon Ball Evolution.
So let's see.
We'll not talk about that.
I think, I mean, just what I would throw in on that one, because like when it comes to live action movies, I actually have something to say on that. It just, in my opinion, I think that both, for very different reasons, the Japanese can usually get it wrong because like sometimes a ham-fisted low budget version, and the Americans get it wrong for the opposite reason, which is too much confidence in, too much high production technique. But I think the thing is that considering both can get it right and both can get it wrong, and the hit ratio is pretty low on both sides of the pond, I think that I would just trust the Japanese more because it's already their culture. So they're going to do it you have to more come to them and understand their way of doing it. And it's done more near to the original vision. So I get the feeling that if I was going to trust one without any biases, I would probably just trust the Japanese because it's already Japanese.
And then
so it's less of a bridge to.
Well, at least now we can look back on this conversation and see how it went in about a year and a half.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, it could be a total shit show. I just feel like if someone was saying to me, OSHI NO KO, an American version or a Japanese version, I think like go for the simpler one. The Japanese are probably more likely to get a Japanese thing right.
We've had a pretty because it's very like based in Japanese entertainment culture. It's got so much going. But I think that's another thing that'll make it interesting. That's what I think make it interesting to American audiences as well, though, because it's relatable in that they're humans with human limitations, but it's not relatable because it's a Japanese culture thing. So it's got that kind of relatability, but also alien sort of world sort of thing going on. That's why I think it'll be a good project. But thing is, there's even worries when an anime gets released of something. So is it going to be as good? Is the anime going to be as good as the original manga? Is it going to stray? The thing is, there's a whole chapter in like OSHI NO KO. There's like 2 different story arcs in OSHI NO KO about that. When that manga artist gets her TV, her manga turned into a TV show, and they talk about the adaptation of that. And then later on, there's the making a movie out of Ai Hoshino's life.
Yeah.
So they touch on these things in the manga anyway.
Do you think like the internet and the times now make it a lot easier to transition like anime and just Japanese TV shows in general as well? Because we've seen like shows like Alice in Borderlands and Squid Game and all that find like really mainstream audiences across the seas, which is I can't say it's ever rarely happened in my lifetime.
It is. It also makes it easier for people to like consume the product without paying for it.
Yeah,
which is not good for like production. But sometimes it can work to their advantage. Like for instance, Manga Entertainment, they would complain about people like not paying to read One Punch Man. Or no, they hadn't licensed it yet. They hadn't licensed the anime. They were like, people are pirating this anime, but they got the license for it, and they were selling merchandise for One Punch Man months before the anime came out. So I was like, okay, they're complaining about people being interested in One Punch Man and not paying for it, but then they'll sell you posters and T-shirts and stuff. It's like they wouldn't have known that they could sell those posters and T-shirts without acknowledging that there was a scanlation, there was an online reading community into it. You know, they weren't paying for the anime, but they were paying for the merch. So that was one of those interesting things because and sometimes the licensor does matter because OSHI NO KO is a huge series, the biggest like of the year, and it's gone on some service that we don't even get. It's on High Dive, which is like, I'm like, what's High Dive?
Never heard of it.
I had to pirate OSHI NO KO. I wanted to pay for it, but High Dive was inaccessible to me. And I want to watch Crunchyroll as well, like the free version. I mean, they have a free version, they offer it to you, but it's impossible to watch. I tried to watch Marshall, that series that's the sort of Harry Potter, but he uses muscles to overcome. He doesn't know magic. He can't do magic. Well, he doesn't do magic, but he goes to a magic school and he uses his muscles to over, like he's got this like evil professor who's trying to like threaten him. He's like, oh, did you know I can get you expelled? So he just smashes him into the ground. he's like, shut up, don't threaten me. Okay. But the thing is, I want to watch the anime for that because I've been reading the manga at the shop and I'm like, okay, I want to see if the anime is any good. I put it on Crunchyroll. I'm like, oh, good, it's free on Crunchyroll. That's good. That's legal. It's free. I can watch it. About halfway through the intro, it plays the same advert 5 times in a row, and the advert's 30 seconds long, and you can't skip anything. Like I have to sit for 2.5 minutes in the middle of the intro, the same advert 5 times over. And then I got halfway through the episode. I just wanted to see one scene. It's like, okay, how does this scene look in anime? So I fast forwarded it to that bit, and it wants to play me. And it wants to play the same advert. I just watched 5 times over, and it says it's going to play it 6 times. Like, no, I can't watch it. I can't watch it like this. I can't watch it like this the way you want me to watch it and support it. It's impossible. Yeah, which is a big shame.
Starting to come to YouTube as well, I feel like.
Yeah.
These last weeks, man, every time 2 20-second unskippable ads, and then you skip a minute ahead and like, another ad.
YouTube does give you a variety of adverts and it only gives you 5-second long adverts sometimes. So that's fine. And some adverts are good. I like watching some adverts. But with Crunchyroll, it's just impossible because it's crazy. It's like they're not even entertaining adverts and they're not a variety of adverts. And most of the time, they're only advertising themselves. It's like, hey guys,
also what I don't
watch Crunchyroll. You're like, who are you paying for advertising? How is this? How is this supporting the service when you're only advertising your own shows?
Every Spotify advert is for Spotify, I've found.
Yeah, or a charity. So
they're just all for Spotify here. It's like, hey, sign up for Spotify. It's really good.
Spotify Desicar. You're like, no, yeah, I've got it. Yeah, so it's a shame. I think monetizing anime for the licensors has to be done better. Because otherwise people will try, like me, I try to get it licensed. I pay for Funimation when there's something I really want to watch. But then when they make it difficult, it's
a lot of these smaller animes that I cannot even, if I want to buy this one, I had to also to buy on a convention because it was just not, wasn't able to buy it.
Yeah, I think that was licensed by ADV though, and of course they went out of business. So that Birdie the Magnificent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and sometimes like ADV, they went bust halfway through producing some series. So some things didn't even get like finished, which is crazy. The same with manga with Tokyo Pop. I know Tokyo Pop's still running in Europe, but they folded in the English language markets. So they had a bunch of stuff that went unfinished, or stuff that's gone out of print and is really expensive now. Like Initial D, the manga for that is really expensive, but luckily it's got a new publisher and it's getting republished in March, so that'll be affordable again. But it's hard. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to watch the stuff you want to watch. Like for instance, like OSHI no Ko only has 4 volumes out in English, and it's got like 9 volumes in Japanese. So I'm like, okay, I'm buying the books, I'm selling the books, but I'm reading it online because I can't really wait to catch up on it. It's a shame, but yeah, I'm looking forward to a live action of that. I want to see how it goes. But the thing is, does it kind of fly in the face of the whole point of the story a little bit? Because it's like a criticism of the Japanese entertainment industry. And what if you read that, like, you know, in the production of the Oshi no Ko film, there have been like dodgy practices, and there have been like, you know, secret handshakes, and there have been casting couches and stuff. You're like, oh shit, it's adding to the problem rather than criticizing it. That's ironic. Yeah.
Yeah. So oh, sorry. Yeah, go on. Go about it.
I have one final question because we have only 3 minutes left. But go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go on. I want to hear yours.
Finishing out your top 3 anime/mangas.
Oh, I really like Gunsmith Cats. That was really cool. It was the manga's really, really good, but it's only got like a 3-episode OVA. Evangelion is really, really good for me. I love that one. And I guess modern, I like Attack on Titan. I liked it to begin with, but recently it's like I'm pretty sure there's other stuff that I really like you know, like the Street Fighter 2, the animated movie. I really, really like that. But say Attack on Titan's been really good, except for when like the whole point of the character changed. It's like before, it's like, hey, he's trying to free himself and his people and everything. He's trying to discover why he's being held captive, and then he just turns into this massive villain and doesn't really like. You're like, oh, now he wants to destroy humanity. Oh, that's yay him. Go Aaron. You know, yeah, it's a shame. Yeah, but yeah, you know, if I had more time, I could probably think of better things. But Gunsmith Cats, really good manga, really good. And I've been reading a few bits recently I've quite liked. Yeah. So yeah, Evangelion, Gunsmith Cats, and probably Attack on Titan.
All right. Neon, go ahead.
Have we got time? Probably not actually to be good.
Just throw out some names.
just throw out some names. Oh, you want me to like my favorite
yeah.
Ooh, at the minute. Dragon Ball is always a top one for me. I'm trying to think of what other animes I really like at the minute. The pressure. I wasn't prepared to answer this. I'm gonna cheat a little bit. I'm gonna do One Punch Man. I really, really like that. And I'm also gonna cheat with my third option, which is a Western one, but it's made by Studio Trigger, which is the Cyberpunk 2077 anime.
Edge Runner.
Yeah, I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, what happened?
I don't know. They are gone.
They are gone. Wow.
Well,
he obviously didn't like my.
They only have 1 minute to come back. Maybe I can just give mine and then we.
Yeah, go on. Give us your top 3.
I have The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, which probably no one knows, but in my opinion, awesome anime. And the original, like they changed how they put the episodes and made it chronological, which really destroyed the anime. Yeah. Anyway, then I have Mob Psycho 100, and which is also from the which is also from the One Punch Man guys, I think. And then I don't know.
Last one quickly because we don't know how much
One Piece or Naruto. One of those.
Anyway, all right, go on, quickly. Save us out. Do the thing. Do
the outro.
Do the outro.
Is to the east.